Hey everyone, and welcome back to Therapy in a Soft Life. I'm Asia, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. If this is your very first time tuning in, welcome to the space. I'm happy you made it. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Either way, let's take a second to just breathe, maybe unclench your shoulders, and remind yourself that this is your time. Something I've been reflecting on lately is how hard it can be to carve out intentional moments like this. We live in a world that almost celebrates being busy. Like, the busier you are, the more together you must have your life. But deep down, so many of us know that busy doesn't always mean fulfilled. Busy doesn't always mean happy. Sometimes busy just means exhausted. And that's why I wanted to talk today about hustle culture. Because whether we name it or not, it's there in the background for so many of us. It's that always on the go, always achieving, always proving kind of mindset. The part of you that feels uncomfortable sitting still for too long. The part of you that scrolls and compares, thinking, dang, why am I not there yet? And if we're being real, most of us don't hustle for fun. We hustle because comparison sneaks in. We're measuring ourselves against everyone else. Who's married already? Who's posting the perfect home aesthetic? Who's traveling the world? Who's launching businesses? It's this constant, look at where they are, look at what they're doing. And it's heavy. So in today's episode, I want to unpack hustle culture, where it comes from, how it shows up in our daily lives, the toll it takes emotionally, physically, and even relationally, and most importantly, how therapy gives us tools to step back from it. Because living the soft life isn't just about creating a cute vibe. It's about giving yourself real permission to live differently, to slow down, to exist outside of constant pressure. So if you're listening, settle in, grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever makes you feel cozy, because this conversation is going to be one that I think a lot of us need. So let's start at the beginning. What even is hustle culture? I feel hustle culture is a belief system that says productivity equals worth. If I'm not producing, I'm not valuable. If I'm not climbing, I'm falling behind. It's the voice that whispers, rest is for lazy people. It makes you feel guilty the moment you slow down. Think about it. How many times have you sat down to watch TV or take a nap and then immediately thought, I should be doing something right now? That's hustle culture. It's not just working hard, it's overworking, overcommitting, and constantly comparing yourself to some invisible standard. And the tricky part is, it doesn't always look the same. For some people, hustle culture looks like working multiple jobs or always chasing a bag. For others, it looks like never saying no to social obligations or constantly trying to keep up appearances. For students, it might be piling on internships, side hustles, and extracurricular activities. And for parents, it can look like trying to be at every event, on top of trying to maintain a spotless house, on top of trying to maintain a career. No matter how it shows up, the feeling underneath is the same. I'm not enough unless I'm doing more. And then social media makes it even worse. You see someone posting their 5 a.m. workout routine, their green juice, their six-figure business launch, and their cute family vacation. And suddenly your very normal life feels small. That's the trap. It convinces you that your worth is tied to performing. And it convinces you that you're behind because someone else is ahead. That's why hustle culture feels like running a marathon on a treadmill. You're moving fast, you're sweating, you're tired, but you never actually arrive. Now, here's the part I think we don't talk about enough. Hustle culture didn't just appear out of nowhere. It has roots, deep roots, in history, cultural, and survival. Take the Black community, for example. For generations, survival was literally tied to labor. During slavery, your worth was measured by how much you could produce. Rest wasn't an option, and it was actually dangerous. And being called lazy wasn't just an insult, it was a threat. Then, after slavery ended, you had Jim Crow and segregation. The message was clear. You have to work twice as hard to get half as far. And I know y'all probably have heard your aunties or your grandmas or grandpas saying that same saying. It's literally embedded in us. And that wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was their reality. Families internalized that message, passed it down to children and grandchildren. Don't rest, don't slow down, because your safety and your respectability depend on it. And this doesn't just exist in Black culture. So many communities carry similar generational messages. In a lot of Asian households, there's an emphasis on achievement, honoring sacrifices, and making a family proud. In Hispanic households, you'll often hear about working tirelessly for stability and opportunity. Across cultures, hard work is framed as the path to survival, acceptance, or respect. And then in American culture as a whole, hustle is glamorized. The so called American dream tells us if you just grind hard enough, you'll make it. But what that American dream doesn't talk about is privilege or systemic barriers or what happens when your health collapses under the weight of all that grinding. Then add in social media, the ultimate comparison tool. Now you're not just carrying all your family's expectations, you're comparing your life every single day to people you don't even know. And that combination is a lot. And no wonder so many of us feel like we can't stop moving. Now, here's the part I really want to sit with. Hustle culture costs us, and the price tag is bigger than money. It costs our peace, our health, our relationships, our ability to even enjoy the lives we're working so hard for. Rest doesn't even feel restful anymore. You sit down and guilt creeps in immediately. Shouldn't I be doing something? Even when you take a break, your brain is racing. You never really feel present because you're already thinking about the next task. And personally, when I was in grad school, y'all, I was stretched thin. I was working hospital shifts, doing internship hours, taking class every week, and trying to keep my life afloat. And instead of resting when I got home, I felt guilty. Guilty that I wasn't writing notes, or guilty that the laundry wasn't folded. Guilty that I wasn't using my time wisely, whatever that meant. It was like no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. And even my moments of rest didn't feel like rest. Hustle culture steals from the people around us too. There are times I was with my partner, but my mind was completely somewhere else. Physically present, mentally checked out, thinking about deadlines or what I hadn't finished yet. And those moments matter because being there isn't the same as being present. It's easy to physically be around someone, but if you're not mentally there, then what's the use? And then there's the toll on your body. Hustle mode keeps your nervous system stuck in fight or flight. That's why burnout, headaches, stomach issues, and not being able to sleep at night show up. I remember being so exhausted that even things I usually love felt like chores. That's when I realized my body was paying for it. And then, as if hustle wasn't enough, you add comparison on top of that. Scrolling through Instagram, I'd see people my age buying houses, traveling, or launching businesses. And instead of being proud of what I was holding together, I minimized it. I couldn't see my own progress because I was too busy staring at what I didn't have. And that's the cost of hustle. You lose your peace, your presence, and sometimes even your health, all to keep up with a race that doesn't even have a finish line. So the question is, how do we break out of this? For me, therapy has been a big piece of the answer. Therapy gave me language for what I was experiencing. Instead of thinking, I'm just tired all the time, I learned I tie my worth to my achievements. Instead of saying, I'm just not disciplined, I realized I feel pressure to keep going because of cultural messages I've internalized. Naming it gave me clarity. It wasn't random, it was taught. And if it was taught, I could unlearn it. Therapy also challenged those harsh voices in my head. My therapist would ask me things like, is it true that rest makes you lazy, or is that what you've just been told? And slowly I started flipping the script. Instead of saying, I'm behind, I would try saying, my journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And instead of saying, rest is wasted time, I try saying, rest gives me strength for what matters. Another big shift was redefining success. Not the Instagram version, not the checklist version, but my version. Success started to look like having the energy to laugh with my loved ones or saying no without guilt. actually enjoying the life I'm living, not just surviving it. I'll never forget telling my therapist that I felt guilty for not wanting to do anything after a long day. And she asked me, "Why do you believe rest has to be earned?" Now, let me tell you, my therapist be checking me sometimes, I will say, but that question did rock me because I realized I had been living as if I needed permission to rest, when really being a human is enough reason to deserve it. Now, as a therapist, I know I probably sound very biased when I talk about therapy, but I will say therapy has so many benefits. And I'm not just saying that, like, it has so many benefits. Um, but therapy helped me build softer habits like scheduling rest the same way I schedule work and saying no without writing a whole 5 paragraph explanation for why I'm saying no, and practicing mindfulness so I can actually notice the small joys in life. And outside of that, exploring who I am beyond my productivity. And look, I'm not saying it's perfect, it's definitely still a work in progress. But therapy gave me tools to actually start living softer, not just thinking about it. So, after therapy helps you name the pattern and challenge those old beliefs, the next layer is identity. Because if hustle culture teaches us that our identity is defined by what we do, then healing is about remembering who we are. And let me tell you, this is not easy. For a lot of us, the first response to who are you is the list of our roles. I'm a student, I'm a mom, I'm a partner, I'm a professional, I'm a caretaker. We attach who we are to the responsibilities we carry and the achievements we stack up. But the truth is, those roles can shift. Jobs change, titles change, seasons change. So if your entire sense of self is tied to what you're producing, what happens when that role goes away? I had to face this personally. When I finished grad school, there was this weird silence. No more deadlines, no more papers, no more internship hours filling every minute. And instead of feeling free, I felt lost because so much of my identity was Asia the student, Asia the intern, Asia the hustler holding it all together. Without that grind, who was I? That's why reclaiming identity is so important. It's about finding out who you are outside of achievement, outside of grind, and outside of proving. So here are some pieces of what that can look like. Ask yourself, what do I actually enjoy when no one's watching? What did younger me love before the world told me I had to be productive all the time? For some of us, it's creative hobbies like painting, dancing, writing, singing in the shower with no performance attached. For others, it's simple pleasures like being outside, cooking, or curling up with a book. These aren't things that we should consider wasted time. I think that these are things that we should consider as part of our identity. And hustle culture is obsessed with timelines. You have to graduate by this age, have kids by this age, hit 6 figures by this age. But a soft life asks us a different question. What do you value? If your values are peace, joy, and connection, then your life can be guided by those instead of deadlines. When you bring in values, that's bigger than hustle. So now I want to discuss defining yourself beyond what you do. Practice shifting how you describe yourself. Instead of leading with, "I'm someone who does X," try, "I'm someone who values Y." Like, "I'm someone who loves creating space for others," or "I'm someone who values presence and laughter." That might sound small, but it reminds your brain that who you are is about being, not doing. And instead of viewing rest as a bad thing, try viewing it as a part of your identity. Here's a reframe I've been working on. Instead of seeing rest as a break from who I am, I started seeing it as a part of who I am. Like, I'm a person who prioritizes balance. I'm a person who honors my body's signals. Making rest part of your identity helps quiet down that guilt that comes up when you slow down. And here's the hardest one: letting your identity stand on its own without comparison. Because if you're always measuring yourself against someone else's journey, you never get to truly meet yourself. You'll only see yourself through the lens of where you're behind. Building a softer identity means I don't have to mirror anyone else's path to be valuable. And I'll be honest, this process is still unfolding for me. I've been asking myself, if I strip away the titles, the deadlines, the to-do lists, what's left? And what I've been finding is pieces of me that I almost forgot. I love creating, not just producing. I love connecting deeply, not just networking. I love quiet mornings where no one is expecting anything from me. Those things don't show up on a resume, but they're me. And the more I lean into that, the softer life feels. Because when your identity is grounded in values and joy, not hustle and comparison, you don't feel like you're falling behind. You just feel like you. So now that we've talked about reclaiming identity beyond productivity, I want to leave you with some practical ways to actually live that out this week. Because it's one thing to hear it and nod along, but it's another thing to practice it and start to shift how you move through your day. Think of these as small invitations or gentle steps towards building an identity that isn't rooted in hustle, but instead is rooted in who you are at your core. So, one of the number one tools that I give my clients is journaling. I always tell my clients that they should probably journal how they feel because a lot of times we internalize different thoughts and different feelings and we carry that stuff with us on a daily basis. So, if time permits for you this week, I want you to grab a notebook or even a notes app on your phone and sit with these questions. When was the first time I remember feeling guilty for resting? If I couldn't mention my job, my titles, or my achievements, how would I describe myself? What values do I want to guide my life, no matter what season I'm in? And lastly, whose timeline am I secretly comparing myself to? And do I even want the life they have? These questions help you start peeling back the layers of hustle and comparison, and they guide you towards what your identity looks like beyond productivity. So I invite you sometime this week to reflect on those questions. And if writing isn't for you, maybe do a voice memo. I personally find video journaling to be a great tool for me because I don't like writing too much. It kind of cramps my hands. So I either will do a voice memo or a video journal just to get it out of my head. So the next tool that I want you all to practice is shifting the way you reflect. At the end of the week, instead of writing down achievements or tasks completed, try writing down moments. Ask yourself, what did I experience this week that reflected who I am, not just what I did? For example, maybe it's I laughed until my stomach hurt, or I had a conversation where I felt deeply connected, or I rested without guilt, or I chose peace instead of pressure. Those little moments add up, and they remind you that your worth isn't in your output, it's in your being. Now, this week, I want you to pick one intentional act of rest and frame it as part of your identity. For example, if you take a nap, remind yourself, I am someone who honors my body. If you say no to an event you don't have the energy for, remind yourself, I am someone who protects my peace. If you put your phone down and take a walk, remind yourself, I am someone who values presence. By pairing rest with identity, you teach your brain that slowing down isn't wasted time. It's a reflection of who you're becoming. Now, lastly, if you're open to it, share one of your reflections with a trusted friend, partner, or even online. Because when we share softer habits out loud, it normalizes them for others too. Your decision to step back from hustle might actually be the thing that gives someone else permission to do the same. So, as we wrap up today, I want to circle back to something really important. Hustle culture didn't just show up overnight, it was born from history, from survival, from cultural messages that told us we had to do more, be more, prove more, just to exist safely or be seen as valuable. And for generations, that mindset helped our families push through really hard circumstances. But here's the truth, just because hustle was tied to survival in the past doesn't mean it has to be our way of living now. We get to choose differently. We get to create lives that aren't just about surviving, but actually about living, about being present, and about being whole. And I want you to sit with this. Your worth has never been tied to your productivity. Not once, not ever. You were valuable the day you were born, before you ever accomplished a single thing. That hasn't changed. even if hustle culture has tried to convince you otherwise. When we talk about the soft life, it's not just about brunch dates, candles, or pretty Instagram feeds. It's about reclaiming your identity, learning who you are outside of the grind, outside of the comparison, outside of the roles you play. It's about finding joy in small moments, anchoring yourself in values instead of timelines, and giving yourself permission to rest without guilt. So, I'm going to leave you with a few questions to carry into your week. Who am I when I'm not hustling? What do I want my life to feel like, not just look like? What values do I want to live by, no matter what season I'm in? And then I want you to practice. Pick one soft action this week, whether that be a nap, a walk, saying no, laughing with someone you love, and remind yourself this is part of who I am. Because this shift doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in the small, intentional choices that slowly teach your body and mind. I don't have to earn my worth, I can just be. If this episode spoke to you, I would love to hear about it. You can DM me on Instagram, share it with a friend who might need a reminder, or even just tag me in your story and let me know. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It means more than you know. Until next time, I hope you keep slowing down, keep giving yourself grace, and keep embracing the softer side of you. You deserve it.